It only took 6 words to shatter the silence and light the internet on fire. A grainy courtside clip, a frustrated superstar, a whispered insult, maybe, maybe not. But by the time the footage hit social media, it didn't matter. The damage was done. Suddenly, one of the most celebrated athletes in women's basketball wasn't being praised for her comeback. She was being accused of something far darker. And just like that, the entire sports world and the culture war swirling around it had a brand new battlefield. But before we dive into the fallout, the cover-ups, and the one question no journalist seems willing to ask, smash that like button and comment fair play if you believe truth should still matter in the WNBA. Because what started as a heated moment on the court has now erupted into something way bigger, and you won't believe how deep this really goes. Before the controversy, before the headlines, Brittney Griner was a global icon, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, a dominant force in the WNBA, a name that commanded respect, until everything changed in an instant. In early 2022, Griner was arrested in Russia, accused of carrying vape cartridges containing hash oil. What followed was not just a legal nightmare, it was a human one. She was tossed into a freezing Russian prison, stripped of her freedom, and labeled prisoner number 42. She slept on a blood-stained cot. She endured psychological warfare, one moment screamed at by guards, the next asked for autographs like some circus attraction. Isolated, humiliated, and completely alone, Griner admitted there were moments she considered ending her own life. This wasn't just about basketball anymore. It was survival. And while she clung to her faith and the thought of her family back home, the outside world spun into chaos. There was almost no real information, just silence from officials and a wave of disturbing internet rumors that filled the void. While Brittney Griner sat in a Russian cell, the internet waged a different kind of war, one fueled by ignorance, mockery, and straight-up lies. Almost overnight, conspiracy theories exploded across social media. The most viral? That Brittney Griner was secretly a man. Fake Russian leaks claimed she'd been forced to take a DNA test. Meme accounts of Bohemia and anonymous trolls piled on, calling her names like Mr. Griner and quoting Austin Powers. She's a man, baby. And it worked. Millions bought into it. The lie spread faster than the truth ever could. But here's the reality. There was never any DNA test. No Russian official ever questioned her gender. Brittney Griner was held in women's facilities the entire time. The rumor wasn't just false, it was deliberately cruel. Yet, the damage was done. Even after her release, the whispers lingered. To many, Griner wasn't just an athlete anymore. She was a target, a symbol people projected their biases onto. When Brittney Griner finally stepped off that plane in December 2022, exchanged for the notorious Russian arms dealer Viktor Bout, she looked exhausted, worn down, but unbroken. To many, it was a miracle. A woman nearly lost in a foreign penal system had come home. But the story wasn't over. It was just beginning. By the time 2023 rolled around, Griner had shocked everyone again, returning to the WNBA and earning an all-star nod with the Phoenix Mercury. Off the court, she became a national voice, speaking out for LGBTQ+ rights, advocating for detained Americans, and turning her pain into purpose. But the biggest shock came in 2025. After 11 seasons with Phoenix, Griner made one of the boldest free agency decisions in WNBA history. She signed with the Atlanta Dream, a young team with championship ambitions and a point to prove. Fans were floored, critics were curious, but Griner was clear. Atlanta just felt right. It was a fresh chapter, a new start, but she wasn't the only headline dominating women's basketball. While Griner was reclaiming her place in the league, a new name was lighting up every scoreboard and every headline: Caitlin Clark. The sharpshooting phenom from Iowa had already broken NCAA records and captivated the entire country during her college run. By April 2024, she was the no-brainer #1 draft pick, joining the Indiana Fever with a tidal wave of hype and a fan base that followed her like a movement. But this wasn't just hype. It was history in the making. The WNBA had never seen anything like her. Sellout crowds, skyrocketing TV ratings, headlines that read more like rock star tour posters than sports coverage. And by 2025, Clark was delivering on all of it. Night after night, she lit up the court, dropping buckets from deep, making defenders look silly, and turning a struggling Fever team into must-watch basketball. It wasn't a matter of if she'd collide with a legend like Brittney Griner, it was when. And on May 23rd, it finally happened. The Fever hosted the Dream in what should have been just another early season matchup. But with Clark on one side and Griner on the other, the energy hit playoff level from the opening tip. The game was physical. It was chippy. Every possession felt like it carried the weight of a rivalry being born. Clark didn't back down. Griner didn't flinch. And then the moment came. Late in the second half, tensions boiled over. Caitlin Clark darted through a screen, trying to create space. Brittney Griner, defending the play, stepped in, and her elbow appeared to catch Clark mid-move. The rookie crashed to the floor. Some called it a flop. Others said it was just plain reckless. But the refs didn't hesitate. Whistle, sixth foul. Griner was done. She didn't take it well. Frustrated, towering at 6'9", Griner stormed toward the bench. Cameras zoomed in. Her mouth moved, her face twisted. And suddenly, the internet had its newest mystery to solve. What did she say? Many online swore they heard it, "effing white girl." Others claimed she simply said trash. A few slowed the clip down and argued she muttered whack call. But the truth? The audio was murky, the video was grainy, and yet the moment was already viral. TikToks popped up with lip readers offering side-by-side interpretations. Twitter, or X, exploded. Instagram Reels looped it endlessly. Some called it a racially charged insult. Others said it was just a frustrated outburst aimed at the refs. It didn't matter. The internet had made up its mind. In the aftermath of the viral clip, the WNBA had a decision to make. Say something, or say nothing. They chose silence. No statement from the league, no comments from the Indiana Fever, no words from the Atlanta Dream. Just nothing. And that silence didn't calm things down. It poured gasoline on the fire. Fans were quick to point out the double standard. Just weeks earlier, the league had launched a full investigation into claims Angel Reese made about racist heckling from Fever fans. That investigation wrapped up fast, with zero evidence found. But this? A viral moment with video footage? And suddenly the league had nothing to say. Then came the next twist: media suppression. Outkick, a conservative outlet, applied for media credentials to cover Griner's game with the Atlanta Dream on June 6th. Denied. No explanation, just limited space. Oddly convenient for a league desperate to avoid uncomfortable questions. Outkick called it what it was: selective censorship. And they weren't alone. Across social media, journalists, influencers, and fans began asking the same thing. Why is no one in the mainstream press talking about this? Where's ESPN? Where's the accountability? And the message was loud and clear. If Caitlin Clark had said something similar, this would have been front-page news. The internet did what it always does: divide, inflame, and escalate. On one side, the outrage was immediate and unforgiving. Former NCAA swimmer and outspoken commentator Riley Gaines reposted the clip on X, blasting Griner for the alleged slur and reminding everyone that this was the same player traded for the Merchant of Death. Her post ignited a firestorm. Thousands piled on, demanding accountability. Fire her. She's toxic. There's no room for this kind of racism. One viral comment summed it up brutally. Should have left him rotting in that Russian prison. Yes, him. The gender conspiracies re-emerged with full force, dragging Griner's identity back into the spotlight. The backlash wasn't just professional, it was personal, and in many corners, cruel. But Griner didn't stand alone. Her teammates defended her. So did loyal fans, claiming the entire clip was being misinterpreted. Some said she wasn't even talking to Clark, but venting at the refs. Others slowed down the footage and insisted she said whack call, not white girl. Even respected journalist Jameli Hill chimed in, arguing the narrative had been twisted. "Get your facts straight," she said. "That wasn't aimed at Caitlin Clark." It quickly became a media war, a divided league, a divided fan base. One side calling for suspension, the other side calling it a smear campaign. What started as a sideline moment had now become something else entirely. A lightning rod for the cultural war unfolding inside professional sports. Because this wasn't just about what Brittney Griner may or may not have said. It was about how the league responded, or didn't. It was about who gets protected, who gets punished, and who gets ignored. Critics said the WNBA had exposed its own double standard. Just weeks ago, they proudly touted a zero tolerance for hate policy. But now, total silence. Was it because Griner was too valuable? Too controversial to call out? Some even claimed the league was afraid to alienate key players, to admit inconsistency, or to stir up more division in a league already struggling to balance politics, identity, and public opinion. And while the WNBA stayed quiet, the internet filled the vacuum with rage, mockery, and conspiracy. Old videos resurfaced, More gender insults, questions about fairness, race, and representation took over the conversation. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark, who sparked the whole clash, stayed silent, her composure only adding fuel to the debate. Some praised her for ignoring the chaos. Others demanded she speak up. And fans? They were left with questions the league refused to answer. Why was Angel Reese's false claim investigated, but Griner's wasn't? Why did the WNBA apologize for one, but not even acknowledge the other? And what message does that send to players and to fans? In just 2 years, Brittney Griner has lived through more than most athletes face in a lifetime. From the cold walls of a Russian prison to the bright lights of WNBA arenas, she's endured pain, pressure, and public judgment on a scale few can imagine. But now, the spotlight isn't just about her comeback. It's about what she said, or what people think she said. It's about the silence that followed, the league's selective outrage, and the widening cracks in a sport that's supposed to stand for unity. To her fans, she's a survivor. Flawed, yes, but resilient. To her critics, she's a symbol of everything wrong with the WNBA's handling of controversy. And hovering above it all is the league itself, caught between protecting its stars and preserving its credibility. Will Griner speak up? Will the WNBA finally address the moment? Or will this just be another chapter quietly brushed under the rug? One thing's certain, this rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Brittney Griner is no longer just about basketball. It's about identity, power, and what kind of league the WNBA wants to be. And as Griner once said in her own memoir, "I wanted to tell my story on my own terms." Well, a new chapter has begun. And whether she likes it or not, the world is already reading. If you think it's time for the league to speak up, drop a comment below. Should Brittney Griner be held accountable, or has the whole thing been blown out of proportion? Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay locked in, because this story is far from over.